I'd like to welcome everybody to the fourth in our series of webinars on behalf of Tipperary Development Camogie. Tonight we have a much anticipated webinar all about goalkeeping, which has been requested by several coaches and clubs. So we've 5 on our panel tonight. So I'll start by introducing Philly Ryan. Philly, native of Boherland, Duala, goalkeeper for Boherland, senior goalkeeper for many years, and won a senior title in 1996. And that didn't go unnoticed then by the TIP senior panel, where he made his debut in 1988, and he won a National League medal when they beat Offaly. He's manager of Tipperary Under-14 Development Camogie in 2015 and 16, and he's currently still involved with the development squads. Also, Philly is our PRO for the county, and over the last 2 years he's built a fantastic team, PRO team, where they are constantly promoting Tipperary Camogie on the national scale and also within the county. So thanks, Philly, for joining us tonight. Next up we have Paddy McCormack. Paddy is a man who always loved his hurling, so this made a smooth transition for him to go into coaching and management through his club, Thurles Sarsfield. He's no stranger to many of you. He's had county, minor and under-21 success with those teams. And in 2005, he became the TIP senior camogie manager. And in 2005 and 2006, they were narrowly defeated in the All-Ireland final in both years. He's coached some of the most best-known goalies in the county, Javita Delaney and Caoimhe Bourke. And in 2020, he was the minor or the TIP under-21 goalkeeping coach. Paddy has also been involved on and off with us, doing sessions at development over the last number of years. So I'm delighted that Paddy, you're able to join us tonight. Thank you and welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Next up, we have Dinny Ferncombe. Dinny, who's been with us for the last couple of webinars as well. Dinny is senior goalie for his club in Holy Cross, Ballycal, and he's also had many coaching roles within his club from juvenile and adult level. He was involved with Mary Immaculate College when they had successful back-to-back Fitzgibbons in 2016 and 17 on the coaching and management team there. And he's the current Tipperary senior camogie coach. Thanks, Dinny, and welcome.
Thanks, Ronnie.
And I'm delighted to be able to welcome and invite our 2 TIP senior camogie goalkeepers. First up, we have Caoimhe Bourke. Caoimhe from Drummond has been involved with Tipperary squad since the age of 13. 14A, she's won 2 under-16 All-Ireland titles with TIP at 2013 and 14. She won a Munster and All-Ireland minor in 2016, and she's had huge success with her club, where they've won recent senior county titles. Also, Caoimhe is well known for being in the middle of the field, blowing the whistle, well known as a referee. So thanks, Caoimhe, and welcome.
Thanks, Rhoda.
And last but by no means least, we have Áine Slattery from Shannon Rovers Club. I believe, Áine, you didn't start out your camogie career as a goalie. You didn't start till you were under 16, I'm told. And you played outfield at under 12 and 14. And even you played a bit of hurling with the under 12 boys in your club. So yeah, Áine's played minor with TIP in the goals, and she came on to the senior panel last year, where she had a very, very successful year, being nominated and won an All-Star, which was absolutely fantastic, and well done, Áine. And she's going to be sitting her leaving cert in a couple of weeks. So again, delighted that both ladies could take the time this evening from the very busy schedules, because I know they're back training. So welcome to our 5 panelists, and thank you. I'm going to hand over to Philly now, who's going to take you through and be the host for the next 45 minutes or so. Just if anyone has any questions as we go through the presentations, can you just type them into the chat or the question and answers, and we'll come to them all at the end. Thank you, and over to you, Philly.
Thanks, Áine. So I suppose we start by we'll share a PowerPoint presentation, and the first slide is a general one on goalkeeping itself. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share the screen here. Just let that load. So we'll go through 4 general topics with our 4 goalkeepers first. So we might ask some of them to jump in there. Being a goalkeeper, I might just ask maybe Dinny to jump in with that first one there about the whole idea of being a goalkeeper and from the age of 12 up, I suppose, to when you finish at the adult level. We'll hit that topic of goalkeeping.
Yeah, thanks, Philly. Look, I suppose you might have picked, like Áine, the odd one out for this in terms of being a goalkeeper from a young age. As I would have only recently started out in the goals in the more recent years. But I suppose through my coaching, I've come across an awful lot in terms of goalkeeper, and I've put a huge emphasis into goalkeeping anywhere I've went. So, like, for me, being a goalkeeper, like, there's one word that I always use when it comes to goalkeeping, and it's the basics, right? Basics. So, like, when we're talking about basics, we're talking about, you know, the handling, the catching, the striking, that confidence to be able to complete all of those skills, time after time again. Because, like, being a goalkeeper, there's no doubt that there's that extra bit of pressure being put on you. Because anywhere I've played in the forward line, I've played anywhere out the field, and if we miss one ball, you miss a ball, you go back and you try and get it. Whereas that extra bit of pressure comes in the goal when you miss that ball, and if it crosses the line and a green flag goes up, you have people looking at you and probably talking about you. But it's what you've got to do in them instances is you have to negate that. You have to just take that, right? You have to take that pressure and just deal with it. And it's a hard thing to probably develop from a younger age. So it's about working those basics to try and ensure that they're becoming more and more confident when the ball is approaching them, that they're moving efficiently in the goal, that they're able to get from side to side in the goal, that you're developing and coaching them their ability to maybe talk and understand the game and help them be able to help their backline stop attackers coming through on them, being able to catch high ball out of the air. So, like, I know if I was back at a juvenile and I got the opportunity to become a goalkeeper from an early age, I would grasp it with 2 hands, because there's that extra special treatment that you get, and you should be getting as a goalkeeper. You should be getting that coach to work on a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2 basis, whatever kind of goalkeepers you have. You should be getting that. They should be given that special treatment because it's a special position. You know, people always say it. The number 1 jersey is given to the goalkeeper, right? For me, the number 1 jersey means the number 1 player. I think it's an extremely important position, and one of your more skillful, as you develop along, players would be the player that will take that position. Somebody that will help you control the game, will help you deliver the correct ball out the field, will help you just keep your back line and your team in position and work through it. So like for me, in more recent years, like, I've got a new lease of life since I've become a goalkeeper. And like, it's something that I would highly promote within clubs. So look, that's all I've got to say on being a goalkeeper. There's a good bit there, and
thanks, Dinny.
There'll be many other opinions that'll come in with that too.
Caoimhe, would you like to add anything to life as a goalkeeper? You were a goalkeeper as both a juvenile and an adult. If Caoimhe can hear me there now. Caoimhe, you're on mute there. Our second topic there is management choosing a goalkeeper. Often a different task for a club to get the right goalkeeper, get someone in the goal there. What tips might you give to club coaches to make sure they've got someone suitable for the goal, and as you said, that the goalkeeper gets enough attention or whatever? Any tips there, Caoimhe?
Sorry, it's only after working out. I couldn't hear you for the last few minutes. I was trying to work out and I can just hear you now.
Okay, so, right. We just keep
if you were talking to me, sorry.
Yeah. So just Caoimhe, what's being a goalkeeper? Just tell one thing about you'd like to add about just the actual fact of being a goalkeeper. What's it been like from playing under 13 with TIP, 14 up along to adult?
I suppose one thing is probably it can be very lonely at times, or it can be very it can be very rewarding at the same time. So like that, it depends how things are going for you. If you're having a great game, or things are going well, and maybe you're dictating the game well, the things are in control, it can be, it's quite a rewarding position. Because if you do well, people and people see it and stuff, it's kind of like, oh yeah, even if it's only a couple of things you do in the game, but then like that on days maybe when things aren't so good, it can be quite lonely down there on yourself inside in the net, and so something like that. It's definitely different to maybe being outfield for that sense. But like that, yeah, it can be quite rewarding when things are going well, and maybe like it could be kind of the opposite sometimes then as well. So it's just a little different, I think, for me anyway.
Right, we just move on to goalkeepers' hurleys and the length of them, the size of the bus, and also how do you get the feel of a new hurley? So if Áine or Paddy want to come in here about hurleys, jump in there about your opinions on hurleys. Do you want to go first, Paddy?
Okay, thanks, Philly. I just maybe say something about the 3 or 4 things you mentioned there. I just listened to the lads there. Some people might say that goalkeepers are born and not made. I don't know if everyone will agree with that, but we'd like to think that goalkeepers are special. They're one of the most important players on the field. They dictate so much, but I think in management picking goalkeepers, sometimes it happens that follows a person and becomes a goalie because of maybe family tradition. I know in my own case, any family members that are hurling at the moment, they're playing the goal. I have a son playing the goal. I have a niece playing the goal. And I had another son that he was being pushed into the goal at juvenile level, and he gave up hurling because of it. And, it's automatically like the whole thing. If your father was a corner back, you're put in corner back. That often happens that way with goalkeepers. Others maybe volunteer for a position, and then there's some maybe show natural ability, and then maybe there's a few that are encouraged at an early age or whatever, or like one of the girls said, they're maybe coming to it late in the day. But I think it's management's job to point out the positives of goalkeeping. When most people come home from a match, how many goals did you let in? I let in 3. You could have been player of the game, but you let in 3. Oh my God. And so I think we as management and mentors over club teams and county teams need to point out the positives about goalkeepers, and that sometimes saves might look simple, but it's how the goalkeeper position themselves and how they move their feet. So there's too much maybe on the negativity. So we should point out, and to any young goalkeeper, starting out, the one thing they're guaranteed is a minimum of 20 pucks out of the hand, and maybe at senior level they're up to nearly 30 with the puckouts. They're guaranteed 20 puckouts in a game, so that might encourage them. Whereas out the field, they mightn't handle the ball 3 or 4 or 5 times. As for the hurley, Philly, there was a great emphasis in our time of a big boss. The bigger the boss, the better. But I always had a problem with that, in that, while most people now are using bigger bosses even out the field, the big boss can turn in your hand if it's too big. So I think it's important to get the proper advice about length of hurley. You might get it from parents or guardians or club mentors or account development squad people or something, but to get the proper advice on the length of the hurley you should use and the size of the boss, and to get the balance right. When I was hurling, I'd always have 3 championship hurleys, but then I'd always have 3 more that I could use in the field for training or going to the ball wall or poking out in the yard or whatever, so that I'd never break the one that I wanted for next Sunday for a key game. So that point of view, it's having your stuff and having the hurleys. That might not always be the case at 10, 12 years of age. You'd have 6 hurleys, but as you grow older and as you develop, and as soon as you get to know the hurley, as soon as you get to know it, and you get to know it by using it every day. Goalkeeping is a bit like golf. I think, Philly, you have to play it a bit every day. If it's only hitting the ball again to gable in, and that way you're getting to know your hurley. Your hurley is your best friend when it comes to the day of the match. And so use it at training, use it and again, and the evenings you're off, and use it during matches. You'll get to know your hurley, you'll get the balance right. And once you get the balance, I used to always mark the balance for my hurley, and once I have that one right, I get everyone the rest of them made the same way. And the last thing I'd say on hurleys is, there's, you know, the puck out hurley too is important nowadays, because of the quick puck out. An awful lot of goalkeepers are using the same hurley that they use because the puck outs, the emphasis in our time, Philly, was always on long puck outs. You know, how far could you drive it? Nowadays, you're picking out players, so maybe the emphasis is not as much on that. But the big boss in that case, playing against the wind, would reduce the length of the puck out. So get advice. Is not always necessarily the biggest boss that's the best to have. So that's about it.
Thanks, Paddy. Áine, would you like to jump in there about how you get to know your hurleys, or about tips on for goalkeeping and choosing goalkeepers?
Yeah, like what I do every time I get a new hurl, like Paddy was saying, like I'd go out every day and puck with it for 10-15 minutes against the wall. Like I'd even bring it into school and use it at lunchtime just to get the feel for it. And after a week or two, then I'd know then if it's the right hurl for me or not. But yeah, like Paddy was saying, the big boss, I don't like an overly big boss either. Like I prefer just an average enough boss. Obviously bigger than an outfield one, but I feel like it affects my strike a bit more. I know that people might say that's a bit mad to say, but I just feel that a bigger boss, it does decrease your strike. But even the length, like I don't, like usually now when I was younger, I'd have a lot smaller hurl, because I just preferred smaller hurls. But as it's getting like tougher, the age group and all, I'd go for like a size or two like ahead of my outfield hurl as well. So that's how I'd go about my hurls.
Yeah, it's good to have the hurley maybe not too long, because a shorter hurley gives you more control. And as Paddy says, don't have a barn door either. Don't have it too wide. And again, just a sensible size boss will give you the proper control. So presenters, we're going to start a few videos now, video clips, which should be of use to all the coaches that are watching here today. We're starting with one where Paddy might explain about positioning and the angles in the goal. So we start with about looking at, we might show the two videos first, Paddy, if that's okay.
Okay.
Oh, the ball's going right to the corner, and Paddy is staying right back on the line. And the second one then, Paddy will narrow the angle. So Paddy is advancing forward. And you can see the white tape that shows how your angle narrows there. Okay, I might stop it there, Paddy.
Okay, Philly. Okay, the tape might be seen as a bit of a gimmick, but I used the tape there in the college the other evening just to highlight maybe the whole thing about positioning and narrowing the angle. If one is Stephen O'Keefe of Waterford, you know, who is 6 foot, whatever, very tall, he was probably the longest hurley in the game. He sometimes don't have to leave his line as much as maybe Anthony Nash. And I'm just using big names in hurling now just to highlight it. And Nash would have to step out where O'Keefe might not. So it depends on the player. I wasn't able to reach those balls in the corner, but once I took a step out or two, I narrowed the angles. So the forward had less a size of a target. So I made the goal smaller rather than the size it was. I made it 5 yards rather than 7 maybe. So I was cutting the angle off. And that's something, look, that's difficult when you're 9, 10, 11, 12 years of age to know how to position yourself. But that will come with time and with coaching and you know, failing sometimes and not failing and letting in goals and looking back in your own game and examining it and managing it. But it's important, it's moving to defeat again and stepping that forward. You'll see goalkeepers doing it quite a lot in 21-yard frees now, penalties, where they'll step out on the last second just to cut the angle off, to make the goal smaller for the person striking the ball. So I hope the tape just helps it there a little bit. I couldn't reach the corner, the goalpost when I stood inside, but when I stepped out the two steps, I could reach the tape. That's where the new goalposts are for the lads striking it. So I hope that helps there some way for you to explain it.
Oh yeah, great visual there. Yeah. Our next one is a good training drill for maybe before a game, Paddy, or a training session. And so Dinny has emphasised the lateral, moving laterally, and Paddy, both of them have So if anyone wants to jump in there, Dinny, you've a lot of importance placed on being able to move laterally, yeah?
Yeah, and it's actually I suppose, in terms of a clip later on that we have as well, with something similar there with that. It's just, again, like, it's coming back to maybe something that Paddy had mentioned there about narrowing the angle as well. Like, it's about the light movement. Like, a lot of people say, you know, you mightn't have a lot of movement in goal, but there's an awful lot of sharp movement. You know, it's those couple of steps forwards, the couple of steps left and right, and you've got to be light on the feet. You've got to be getting across. Like, the point is there: do not cross your feet. You know, like, you can't be in a position where you're going to get tangled up trying to get across the goal and fall over yourself. So it needs to be worked on from the start in terms of being up on the balls of the toes and maybe getting across, light across. You don't really want the heels clipping off of each other either. So, like, you know, you're there in the centre of the goal and you've a forward bearing down from one side of the goal. You're going to be trying to take that step or two right or the step or two left so that you're going to narrow that angle. You know, a ball dropping down out of the air, your eye is on the ball in the air. You want to be able to step across the side of the goal that the ball is dropping without having to look down at your feet to make sure that you're going to get across. You know, the ball the eye has to be on the ball the whole time. So you need to coach that movement to make sure that we're comfortable moving from, say, post to post within the goal to be able to deal with whatever type of ball is coming at us.
Yeah. I don't know if Caoimhe or Áine have ever experienced it. Happened to me in some matches where you're at the near post for a sideline and the ball just curls in towards the far top corner and you really have to reverse quickly then. So you might be thinking of narrowing the angle, but then you have to change your tactic fairly quickly to get back there for a sideline, yeah?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely is something that can happen quite easily if you're not clued in.
Yeah, they're deadly sidelines. Okay, and the next clip is kind of like what Dinny was talking about there. Paddy might take us through it. Paddy's thrown high. The goalie has to reverse the feet and clear the other side. I'll just stop that there. Paddy, why did you want him clearing the other side?
Okay, that drill and the one previous to that, the previous one Dinny spoke about it there, that could be used as a warm-up drill for goalkeepers as well. You know, and the second drill there, that's the sideline ball that the girls were talking about there, coming across, you know, the sideline ball or free from the side, and that you're at your near post here and you have to backtrack and catch it going underneath the post. And rather than having to start from a standing position, then stop and start and move out against the crowd, you actually continue a movement. So you're not crossing your feet. And then he mentioned that there, there's no crossing of the feet there. It's the one move. The player never broke his stride and continued to the far side, took it from the near side and struck it from the far side and picked out a player on the whatever 40 or 50 yards out from it. So control of the ball, both those drills, while there's a lot of feet, the emphasis on footwork, that's the key, and getting behind the ball. That's crucial in both those drills. Trying to get the body behind the ball as much as you can Not always possible, but just the more times you can, and that's why you have to be very agile in the goal and have, and there's a certain level of physical fitness, maybe different from the midfield player. So hopefully those two drills pinpointed that there.
Okay, the next one is a great training drill for your training sessions. It involves outfield and goalkeepers, and you set 4 cones up 4 meters apart. You need 3 players for this drill. You could have a goalkeeper and 2 outfield players, or if you have more than one goalkeeper in the panel, include them. Each player must move to the spare cone before releasing the ball. So there's 4 levels of difficulty, and we'll show the video in a second. At the start, the player moves to the spare cone and throws the slitter along the grass to the other player who controls it. Then they move on to the next level. The player moves to the spare cone and the other player has to catch the ball. Stage 3, the player moves to a spare cone and you pass the ball easily with a shortened hurley. And then the stage 4, more difficult, the player moves to spare cone and strikes the ball hard and makes the other player block it or whatever, or catch it. Okay, so he's kind of hitting the ball very hard, lashing it for the last one. So let's have a quick look at this drill here now. So stage 2, player has to catch it. So it involves fitness and now we're using a hurley. And I'd say this with Paddy or any of the guys might talk about it afterwards, but I'd say this drill would be suitable for anyone from 9 years up to adult. Because you can use it at any level. Now they're lashing it. You have to, a bit more difficult now. They're snapping it. Okay. Want to jump in there, Paddy, and then maybe Dinny or Áine might follow?
Okay, the emphasis there again, Philly, is on moving the feet. There's a great tendency with all players to, you get the ball to strike it from a standing position where you are, particularly with younger players. And that's why we started it off there, and there's kind of a natural progression. Probably at the end there, you're talking about a club senior team and inter-county team. But at the beginning there, you can see it can suit any age group, 10, 12, 14, whatever. And you can make it as hard or more difficult as you want to. And you can make the cones 10, 12, 14 meters apart, whichever you want. But it's about getting players to think on their feet. Because as they get tired, as they get into the last 20 or 30 seconds of that drill, sometimes players forget to move and they strike on the spot. So, yeah, it would apply. You could work that drill if at 24 players train, you could have 6 or 8 trees, whatever. But I use it a lot with goalkeepers and warm-ups just to get them moving, get the adrenaline built up, get ready to handle the ball, moving, striking on the run, all those things. So I think, yeah, it's a good drill from that point of view.
So Áine or Caoimhe, would you see any benefit to warming up or on a training night for a bit of movement in your drills? We might go to Áine there.
Yeah, I think that drill now, I think that benefits both goalies and outfield, because I suppose it does, like Paddy said, it does get you thinking. And like for like us goalies, especially me, like it is a crucial thing to be like in during the game. Like you have to be thinking nonstop, even in training. But yeah, I think those sort of drills now, it does benefit from a young age.
Yeah, and I suppose it gets the body warmed up before the game as well, or during a training session, that you're on your toes, ready for the start of the match as well. So a very good drill that suits every age group there. Hold on now, I might have skipped one there. Have I? Okay. So the next one is about coming on now. The player has to reverse and move forward, and hand pass is clear. Again, the player is always facing forward and reversing back. The coaches are varying between catches and dirty ground balls. Okay, I'll stop that there now. You want to jump in there, Paddy, on that one?
We tried to set up that one, Philly, to big emphasis here on don't turn your back to the ball. Okay, you can see the goalkeeper, that ball can be played into the goalkeeper along the ground, maybe lobbing to his or her hand, or maybe a more difficult strike, depending on the age group you have, or whether it's adult level or juvenile level. But at all times, the goalkeeper never turns his back. He never turns his back on the ball and faces back into the goal. And the next shot is always the important one. And particularly, if goalkeepers make a mistake on the shot, it's a way of training that the next ball is the most important. A bit like the Tiger Woods mantra: you count 1, 2, 3, and the last shot is over. You're on the next one. The next ball is the most important ball in the game for him. There's also a tendency for the goalkeeper to get tired in that drill because they are advancing and going back and advancing and going back, and the emphasis again on concentration and keeping that concentration right to the end of the drill. The last 30 seconds, if it's a minute drill or a 2-minute drill, the last 30 seconds, I'd be putting great emphasis on the goalkeeper handling the ball well, moving well, and concentrating for that 30 seconds.
Okay. So safety first with the high balls. This is a very important one for especially juvenile keepers here, where the crossbar is 8 foot high, and a lot of goalkeepers have no hope of touching an 8 foot crossbar, and sometimes struggle with the Hurley when they start off playing camogie at under 10s or whatever. So just a quick demonstration here of safety. High ball's coming in, Patrick blocks it and has it out to safety. So would you like to jump in there, Caoimhe, about when just to advise goalkeepers when they're starting out at 12 or 13 or whatever, about those dirty high balls and the need to get rid of it before an advancing forward or something? So if you can remember back to when you were that age.
Yeah, so it was definitely like that, especially when you were a bit younger, a bit smaller. It was the dropping in ball was like that, often a problem. So to use your safety first, like in that video, like, get your solid hands behind the Hurley and make sure there's good pressure on it, not to have it, deflect into the goals, especially, and things like that. So like that, doing drills like that will definitely help. And as I say, not, don't bat it down and try not to, as much as you can, down in front of the attacking forward coming in on you. Like, if you can get it out more towards the side, or like that, touch it down and flick it away, things like that, they're definitely helpful and make a lot of difference, especially as you're going up in the underages, when maybe catching isn't as comfortable yet. So yeah, it's definitely drills like that, keep practicing them and keep doing them to help with that, because it does happen a lot in games. So it's definitely a useful one.
Right, so if you just recall what Caoimhe said there, to block with solid hands, let it drop down and not bat it out to give the full forward a second bite. So that's good advice there, Caoimhe. Go to the next one. Okay, over to you, Dinny and Caoimhe now. You made some videos here, and I'll just put up the slide, Dinny, and you could maybe go through the content of your ones there now.
Yeah, thanks, Philly. So
okay, Dinny.
The first two kind of work together, and it's similar to one of the videos that we would have had with Paddy earlier on, and we would have discussed it. So it's just that movement across the goal, the lateral movement, being able to get across the goal without much hassle. Look, we'll see the clips on them again there, but we have went through that. Clear the house. Look, any ball that comes in front of the goal, that goal is the danger area. So be it one that we've blocked down out of the air, be it one that we've controlled or one that we've caught, we need to try and force our coach, our goalkeepers, to get away from the goal, get away from the danger area, get out to the side. And that works back to some of the basics where you want to try and coach them to be comfortable being able to move to the left or move to the right. You know, that no matter what area they get the ball in, that they can move. And that's not going to be the case at the younger age groups, but it's something that has to be focused on and developed. Because if you let it go, then you're going to have a goalkeeper that, right, they catch the ball and they can only move to the right hand side of the goal and they're caught on the left and they won't be able to do anything with it. So you just need to work on being able to get the goalkeeper to move right, move left and clear the house. The last thing you want is a goalkeeper to catch the ball in front of the goal, throw it up and get blocked down and the ball ends up over the line after most of the hard work being done in terms of gathering the ball. So make sure that they move. Covering the angles under pressure, again, similar to one earlier, right? It's just, I suppose, one thing that I like to include when I'm talking about covering the angles is as they go on through the age groups, you've got attackers coming down, forcing in on top of goal. That attacker is going to lift their head for maybe a split second to look at the goal before they strike. When that attacker lifts the head to view the goal for striking, that's when a goalie will make that step. Make a step forward, make a step left, all right? And if you've made that step, the attacker has probably seen that, okay, I've now got a lesser angle, but the goalkeeper is moving back to a similar position and maybe being ready to, like, you might have offered them a certain area to strike the ball into. And in doing so, you're ready to block to that area. And then under pressure, you block a ball or gather a ball, you've got a full forward maybe coming in on top of you, and you have to deal with that pressure coming in after gathering a ball. Again, getting out to the side to clear your house. And it's the very same with the high ball that drops in. You know, gathering that ball, right? It's safety first, it's ball first, and then the pressure is coming. How am I going to deal with that? I'm going to get away out to the front of the goal, and I'm going to do my best to clear the ball out by the sides. So, Philly, if you want to just play those few clips there.
Yeah. Okay, stop it there for a second, Dinny.
Yeah. Right. There was look, similar to what we had seen earlier. You can start it small and you can move it up into further distance within the goals. You can throw it along the ground. You can throw it to hand. You can strike it along the ground from further out. You can strike it to hand. There's different varieties that you can do to change that up. There was one point that was on that, and it's power off the outside foot. So if you've moved to your right, and you automatically have to switch back to get to the left-hand side of your goal, you need to be able to, as they say, plant that right foot and power away back so that you're able to move. You've power coming from that stance that you're able to move back faster across. Then with the stepping, just the emphasis again of not trying to click the heels or cross, and just being light as you're moving, so that we're getting across as quickly as we can.
Right, I want to clear I wanted to clear your house now, Gary.
Yeah, yeah.
So Caoimhe's getting away from the centre of goal there.
Yeah. So like just in terms of that, like you could end up with a ball on the line, you could end up with a ball 5 or 6 yards out. But like the most dangerous area at times is straight in front of the goal, because at sometimes, and especially in I don't know, through the juvenile age groups, and even as you go up on, you'd see it an awful lot in Camogie, that central area in front of the goal can be a very crowded area. So if you're going to receive a ball and try and come straight out, you're going to be coming straight into traffic. You may get dispossessed in front of your own goal, and you don't want that, because the ball is going to end up over the line again. And so it's about gathering that ball and getting out to the side. Like if Caoimhe gets that first ball and gets out to the right hand side of the goal and she gets blocked down there, the ball has gone out wide. So like there's no massive danger. It's making sure that we're not getting caught right in front of our own goal. We're getting away from the danger area.
Okay, the next two, Dinny, are under pressure.
Yeah.
I think it's the low ball under pressure. And just let it run for the high ball as well,
Yeah.
Dinny. It's actually very off-putting for the forward coming in your view as well with the Hurley. Okay, I'll just stop it there.
Yeah, perfect. So look, I suppose with the second last one there, that's where we were talking about. Right, it's maybe a sharp move out, or a sharp move left, or a sharp move right, where you're offering an area to the striker. So like if I'm in the goal and I want the ball struck over to my right hand shoulder, like I might take a little step to the left as the striker is viewing. I've offered that area to the right. I've taken a small step back then to my right hand side. It may not necessarily always work, but you're trying to force the attacker into a decision that they may not be comfortable in doing. And you're offering them an opportunity where they think, hey, this is the best angle, or this is the best area to strike the ball. But like if we've worked on it in training and we're clever enough, then where you're offering them is actually the best place for you. So you're trying to narrow that angle. And then in terms of dealing with the pressure, it's about getting out to the side, getting away from the goal. You could do an awful lot of work with goalies where you have that person in front of them distracting, be it the low ball along the ground or the high ball in the air. Just that bit of a distraction, so that when it comes to a game, that, okay, if there's a full forward and a full back tussling in front of me, right, that distraction, I can deal with that because I've dealt with it in the field. And as the ball is coming in, I have one focus, and that's gathering the ball safely, and then I'm going to clear my house.
I think the full back line, especially the full back, should be still active as well. They can't switch off and give the full forward line a free role of an Áine as well. So I think it's very important for the full back to be awake as well for the little help they might need to give you.
Yeah, well, it's important there with that case that, you know, we're coaching that that communication. We're teaching our goalies from a young age that, you know, this 6-yard box, for example, it's my area, and any ball that's coming in here, it's mine, and you're not to let any forward in near me. You know, just protect your goalie, shield them out, and need to work between the full back line and the goalkeepers, that they're communicating that, and you can do it together in training at different stages.
Yeah, so I suppose we'll just go over to Caoimhe and Áine for a second. I suppose you like to make use of Julianne or Mary or Emer there to be an option to get you out of trouble too, do you? I don't know if Áine's there or Caoimhe. Would you get help from your full back line when needed?
Yeah, definitely. It's always and like that, communication is a massive part of that. Like between in matches and practice and that at training, because like that, if you don't practice in training like that, maybe it's a high ball's coming in, and maybe the full forward and full back it's kind of in between them. Maybe you have to be ready if it breaks, or maybe it's coming a bit further than that, and you have to be able to call Mary or Julianne or Emer or someone and say, okay, I'm going to come, and you kind of, maybe that's even coming out up over them, or you know, or else if you call in time, it allows the full back to maybe shield the full forward while you're able to gather it, and to give you a bit of extra room to be able to do that. And then like you were saying then, if you gather the ball and you're trying to get out the side, it's definitely helpful as you look up to have the cornerback, the wing back presenting themselves as an option. So like that, just to be able to communicate with your back. So like that, if you want to do drills in training with the backs and the forwards and the goalkeepers together, very beneficial, and it works out well in matches. Then it can be kind of deciding a factor for many plays coming out with the ball.
Okay, thanks, Caoimhe. Just to remind people to send in their questions on the questions and answers or the chat section there, and Dinny's monitoring there as they come in. And also there, we might go a little faster through the next couple of videos, and because we're a tiny bit behind schedule to give us time for questions and answers. So we'll motor on now through the. So some other advanced keeper drills. So the next two we'll watch together. They're both to do with deflecting slitters, and we'll watch the two of them before we comment. The cones are causing a big deflection there. And the second one, we have Michael throwing the ball there and Paddy deflecting it past Patrick. Very difficult to block these ones. Be really alert. Okay. I might stop it there for a second. Paddy, do you want to jump in and tell us about those two deflection drills?
Yeah, look at the ballers, I suppose, is a gimmick, and you never see ballers on the day of a match in front of you. But Dinny mentioned there a few moments ago, and about balls coming through, maybe a full back and a full forward, and the goalie has to react in the last second. And oftentimes you're caught called upon to do that a couple of times in a game. So I was trying to set up there something to, that gets the goalie sharpened up and reflexes. My little tap in there is very simple, but for the goalkeeper to so close, the goalkeeper has to react all the time. The ballers are just a means of putting the goalie, once the ball touched the baller there, it went to a different angle and the goalie had to react. So it's all about reaction. And that's what the goalkeepers, they live for that moment. Goalies try to be the best they can be at the basic things. And some of the lads mentioned basic things earlier on. So the bread and butter stuff, you have to be good at those. But these are the saves that goalies live for. You might only get one in the championship. And that's why you spend so many hours in the ball wall. You know what I mean? We have this 10,000 hour rule where you do something over and over again, and you wonder is ever going to happen in a game, and all of a sudden, an All-Ireland semi-final or a county semi-final or something, it happens. So that's what I'm really trying to do there. And there's others, lots of others you can do, but it's all about reflexes for the goalkeeper and working on those really. Okay.
The next one is probably an area that's tricky for a lot of camogie goalies. Very few female goalies, 6-footers, but especially when you go from under 10, 14, 16, all the way up along. What do you do when it's going to land on the crossbar or maybe going over the bar? So Paddy is demonstrating parrying a point here. We might comment on it in a second. So it's a difficult enough skill, but at least you're making sure there's only 1 point instead of 3 points there. So on your Caoimhe, would you like to jump in there on your thoughts about parrying points, or would you prefer to bring him down? Do you want to have a
personally now?
Thought on that, Áine?
I'd prefer to bring him down now if it was me, but I mean, I suppose everyone is different, and I suppose at a young age you'd have to kind of try out other things to see which one suits you best. But personally now, I would prefer to bring it down. I think as well because I have that height, it just gives me a little advantage as well.
Yeah, it's what your own skill set suits. So bringing it down suits you there. Yeah, and.
If I can add something to that one there,
yes,
I think we had to take 3 or 4 turns at that one to get it right. It's a very difficult skill, and I didn't demonstrate it great there now, but I'd agree with Áine there. You'd love to bring down the ball, but I was trying to create a situation there where the ball's dropping in high, or maybe it's a shot high, and the forwards are bearing down on top of goal, and it was out of reach of me, and I just helped it over the bar. And sometimes you're called upon, if you bring it down, you know, and the ball's in the back of the net because the forwards are on top of you. That's what I was trying to create. But yeah, I'd agree with the goalkeepers there in saying that, look, I'd love to be able to go up and catch that. It was a bit high for me. I'd love to be able to bring it down into my own chest, from the hurley to the chest, and take it away. But I wasn't able to do that there, so I decided to put it over the bar. Now, if the match was a draw, I wouldn't be putting it over the bar, needs to say. But every situation is different, and goalkeepers, and it's a skill that maybe you wouldn't be doing at 10 or 12 years of age. It's something that might come later on, and might be an occasion when you might have to do it, parry the ball over the bar.
Yeah.
We see the soccer goalkeepers at it quite a bit. Now, it doesn't count as a score for them, of course, it's a corner, but they push it over a lot, and it's that similar situation.
We might take the next two drills together, and Paddy, you might say a quick word on them. The first one is we're using tennis balls, getting Patrick here to improve his reflex saves. No mercy here. And the next one then is a mixture of high balls and low balls coming in, and the goalie having to pick out someone with the second ball. So we'll just start that one now as well. And you might talk us through them, Paddy, afterwards. There's a near ball blocked, then a far out ball caught and cleared. Another near ball, then a far out one high. Another near one, another high one. Hold on, I need to pause that now. Now, Paddy, you might talk us through the tennis ball reflex one and that more complicated one.
Yeah, tennis balls. A lot of the older generation might be giving out to me now for using tennis balls, but I use them, and I go fairly close, depending on the standard of goalkeeper. Whether it's an inter-county goalkeeper, that could be very close. If it's an underage goalkeeper, you could be back a bit further. And it's supposed to beauty about the tennis ball, it's not going to really hurt you, you know, but it does sharpen up your reflexes. Back to that reflexes again. So there was a continuously, you know, you strike 6 in a row non-stop in that first one, or the second one was I'd strike it hard shot straight at the goalkeeper, trying to build the goalkeeper's confidence as well. I wasn't putting those in the corner, I was hitting straight at him. But straight away then, as soon as he had that block, Michael hit in a high ball, had to catch, go clear and put it back in Michael's hand, and he had to react again straight away. So it's all about reaction, footwork, controlling the ball, striking, picking out a man, and not turning his back to the ball, back to the goal again. So a lot of the same stuff just coming up the whole time, and that's what it is, getting those basics right and doing the simple things well. And that's what I'm trying to do there, sharpen up the goalie. And you might say, why didn't you strike him to the corner? You know, goalies thrive on confidence, Philly, and Dinny and two girls know that, you know, the confidence is everything. And so, particularly coming up close to a game, you know, making the goalie feel good about themselves. And if she feels good, it runs through the whole team and the team plays well.
Okay, moving along. There's a quick one here, just Paddy invented here about just practicing your control at home. Because a lot of the goalkeepers, especially with COVID things, have to do practice at home. So we just show this one and we might move on then. It's fairly self-explanatory. So Paddy throws it up high, first of all, and shows poor control. It just goes totally out of your control. Now watch this. That's good control. So you got to practice that at home, lads. And I'm just moving it on now. I got to stop share for a second. It's stuck with me there for a second.
I suppose just while Philly's getting that back together there, you know, there's an awful lot of cases there where you've had a lot of time working at home over the last while, and that's going to continue. Like it's been stated there at the start of the webinar about, you know, being having the hurley in your hand every day, every chance you get, coming home from school in the evenings, down to the field, you know, getting that extra bit of practice. So working on those things there, like controlling the ball, working on all of the different areas that we consider the basic skills of the game, and it's just the encouragement in different ways that we can try and improve those the whole time. So I just think it's massive that we really try to get our players to want to practice more at home and be better every time they come to the field, be a better version of themselves the whole time.
Thanks, Dinny. Save my bacon there. My mouse was stuck there, but the next one is about, there's a new rule now that you can take a quick puck out after wides. So again, just a quick demonstration here that it's going to be very important this year. The ball goes in, goes wide. So mentally ready for this quick puck out. It's a new rule this year. So another one Dinny and Paddy spoke to me about during the week about was the whole job the goalie has about clearing his area in behind the full back line, and explosive power to the breaking ball, Paddy calls it. And just a quick drill here that Paddy has here. And so I think it's nearly our last one. Player on his toes. Bursting out with a jab lift. Okay, so maybe just before before we go on to that one, Paddy or Dinny, you might go through, but Paddy might want to go through the practice at home, or all of you might want to go what's best to do when you want to practice at home. Paddy just demonstrated one drill about control there, so I just go over to all four of you about practicing at home.
Okay, right, Philly. Just on the last two there, and just add one or two things to finish. The quick puck outs. I think every goalkeeper should have a rule themselves, and most county goalies have it, but club goalies mightn't be, just easy developed. There's nothing magic about it. I call it the 5-second rule. So once the ball goes wide or over the bar, the back of the net, whatever, you have 5 seconds to be ready for the puck out. And your team knows that, and you're ready. You never know the day when you might need that quick, sharp puck out to get you back. And we have this thing in the game today now, we call it the 4-point goal or the 2-point goal, where if the opposition score a goal, they want the next point to make that 4 points, but you want to make it a 2-point goal. So you need that to return the point at the far end. So sometimes that's down to the goalkeeper. So the 5-second rule there can be a big help, and a lot of the county goalies have that. The other thing is for young goalkeepers too, they do like to play out the field, and it can help. And I saw Caoimhe coming out there and Dinny going in tackling there for the ball in one of the drills, and if you look at the inter-county goalies in hurling, the top goalies today who are Nicky Quaid, Brian Hogan at Tip, Owen Murphy, Kilkenny, and they all play outfield for their club, and it can help them. And it certainly helps them, in their game and the goal. And no harm to give, if you're a coach in teams or if you're a goalkeeper, look to play out the field and not night at training. Just even at training, it definitely can help you. And the other thing is the ball wall. The ball wall is, the ball wall is to the goalie what the driving range is to a golfer. And it's so important. Yeah, the 3 nights a week in the field with your club team or county team will not be enough. That ball wall, and everyone at home has one. We have a gable end, or we have a wall somewhere in the school, or we have somewhere. And the final thing I would say in all that, Philly, not to go on too much, is, I'd always advise a goalkeeper to become their own sports psychologist. Not every team can afford to have a sports psychologist, but if you come up with the concept of the 3-1-1, every night you train or play a game or whatever, you had a little book and you went home, you wrote down 3 things that I did well tonight. No matter what it is, find 3 things you did well tonight. Might be to do with fitness, might be to do with striking, whatever. 3 things. 1 thing that you can improve on, and 1 thing that will help you to improve on that thing. So that's the 3-1-1. If you do it 3 nights a week, you have 9 things that you're saying positive things about yourself, and the 3 things you picked out, you're eliminating them as you go along. And that's what the great players do. That's what the top players do at inter-county level. There's no, if club players start that, you certainly, to build your own confidence, and you begin to like the position of goalkeeper. And one of the girls said it can be a lonely place. It certainly can be a lonely place, but we as mentors have to make sure it's not. We have to encourage people that this is a very positive position. You can play a key role, and you're the most important player in the field. You control an awful lot of what goes on, and you're a leader because you control and organise the back line in front of you, and they in turn organise the players in front of them. So plenty of the ball wall, get the proper Hurley, and get used to using it at the gable end of the home, and that will make you. And you'll have many, many hours of enjoyment out of it.
All right, so quickly before we go to questions and answers, if maybe Caoimhe could go first on just one last message to anyone, our webinar participants tonight.
I suppose the best thing I found from coaches over the years anyway was like that, just plenty of practice. I know one of the questions was regarding like when is the best time to in the session to maybe take the goalies out and stuff. And I found over the years, probably more as they got into intercounty and stuff, that the goalkeepers were used more on their own and taken aside, which I think is very important. So I suppose as a coach, make that time, whether it can be like that, it can be a kind of any time in the session after the warm up, or maybe if it depends what the session is entails. So maybe it's something the outfield players are doing that really wasn't much good for goalkeepers, and that's they take that 10 minutes to do that, and like that, a couple of drills. And if it happens every night, it can be helpful rather than once every while. It definitely helps improve the skills, and it'll make a big difference to the goalkeeper, especially at a younger age, and it'll make them feel especially more confident in goalkeeper settings rather than maybe just trot into a match, once a week and trying to deal with the things. So the small drills and everything will be helpful. So yeah, I think that's just important to keep giving them a bit of special treatment, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's our message for tonight there about the special treatment, and we give a whole variety of possible drills there from Dinny and Paddy there that you could do with goalkeepers. So over to you, Áine, for any last message you want to give about practice at home or at training sessions.
Yeah, I'd say any younger girls that actually want to be a goalie or are very fond of it, I'd say to do the drills and all that, because it is, like the lad said, it is a rewarding position and it does pay off, even if it takes years or whatever. But I'd say for the younger girls to definitely, and for the coaches to be encouraging them to stay at it, even if they have a bad game or 10 bad games or whatever, it will pay off for them.
Definitely. Dinny, over to you now for both your final comments, and if you could host the questions and answers, to be great after your final comments.
Yeah, look, thanks, Philly. Look, there's a good few questions after coming through there that are going to probably entail an awful lot of what has been said there, and just needs to kind of push on with it. But look, as a final comment in terms of goalkeeping and developing it, I suppose one of the big things with developing goalkeepers, and it's just a personal thing with me, I suppose. When I was under 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, all up along, I was a forward, right? I just loved playing out the field, running, getting involved, and having a go. Trying to just be involved all the time. And I suppose as the years went on, that changed for me. And it would have been that experience out the field that would have helped me to probably understand the game that little bit more now as well. And I'm not saying this is the same case for everyone, but as an outfield player, I could understand the types of movement that might have been happening in front of me. I could understand as a forward what the back might be trying to do to stop you gaining space or getting an opportunity to score. So all of those things kind of helped me. So I think Paddy mentioned it there a while ago in terms of, when you have a goalkeeper, and this is if you have an out-and-out goalkeeper, give that out now goalkeeper the opportunity to play some training matches out the field, because they get to experience something in the shoes of maybe somebody that's playing out the field, and to experience that will help them understand what's happening in front of them that little bit more, and it might help them to organise some of those situations a little bit more, or help to maybe for puckouts, which puckouts have become a huge thing these days, the distribution of the ball. It might help them to improve how and where to distribute the ball to at different times. So look, there's definitely more points that I would make, and I think we'll discuss some of them over the Q&A. I think, like, if we can take away from tonight that if we have goalkeepers, that if we can, encourage that basic improvements all the time at home, in the field, and look, we'll answer other areas of it as we go on through the Q&A here, if that's all right, Philip.
Yeah. So just before you take the Q&A, Dinny, I just want to thank Paddy McCormack Senior and Junior and Michael McCormack for doing those drills in St. Patrick's earlier this week, and for Dinny and Caoimhe and Áine for their huge contribution tonight, and for Dinny and Caoimhe making the videos, and Kevin Hanley, who edited some of the video clips tonight, and for Gráinne O'Leary for organising tonight's goalkeeping webinar, which us goalkeepers, I suppose, love doing. So over to you now, Dinny, for those questions and answers.
Yeah, look, I'll go through the questions there. Paddy, Caoimhe, Áine, any of you there that feel you want to take on that question, if you have it, look, we'll all get through the questions together there. So, like, the first question, I'll go through the chat there. At what stage during training session would you suggest taking goalkeepers away from the other outfield positions? Caoimhe kind of dealt with that a little bit there earlier. And I suppose from our aspect, coaching at the minute, like, at the younger ages, if you're playing the games, I always encourage that different people try out in the goals in those games. And then when you've kind of found your goalkeeper, and you're going up along through the grades and the age groups, that after a warm-up could be like the players could be going into a specific outfield drill that isn't really going to benefit the goalie. And that's where planning for sessions comes into place. So if the head coach maybe has spoken to all the coaches involved, that you'd be able to pull away the goalkeeper straight after a warm-up, and you'd be able to do specific goalkeeper work for that person. And then you might be coming back in to play a game, and you might be going back away again and coming back in to play a game, things like that. So I think if you plan your sessions well, you'll be able to facilitate the taking away of a goalkeeper. It will vary at different times. One day you might go down, you might do a warm-up and you might go into a full game. Other days you might come down and it could be more specific stuff that's not necessarily needed for a goalkeeper. So you'd be kind of taking the goalkeeper away straight after a warm-up for that one maybe. If anyone else wants to jump in on that one there before I move on.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. As we said, we also want to show that goalkeeper is important and needs attention and needs some time with a selector or a coach down in the goal, even if they're under 12, under 14. If they're just playing outfield the whole session, and then there's a match at the end and they might get 2 pucks, that's not enough. That's not enough reflex saves or moving their feet or going forward and back. So definitely they need some actual goalkeeping practice during a session. Anyone else want to jump in there?
The next question that's on it there, what advice would you give to girls that are not confident under a high ball or catching a high ball?
Well, I think Áine and Caoimhe are both fairly good at bringing it down, so maybe we'll go over to Áine first and then Caoimhe on this one.
I suppose for younger ages, if you're not really confident on catching, I'd say try and bat it out the sides as far as you can rather than down the middle, and then eventually get into trying to catch it.
Yeah, anything different there, Caoimhe, or would you, for dealing with high balls when you're young?
I suppose just practice will probably be an answer to a lot of things, but it's, you'll only get better the more you keep practicing it. even if it's you start off just on your own under pressure, and then maybe bringing people in front of you then to relay a match situation. And like that is just whether it's in your garden with your brothers and sisters and your family, or like that when you go to train, and just for yourself as the goalkeeper to keep practicing it if on any element of the game that you're not confident with. And like that when in the match situation, just going for it. And if it doesn't work out, I've many years playing that the ball gone in over my head or gone wrong, and you practice makes perfect. And that's all really. It's just like anything, same as your first touch and things like that. It will improve. And that's.
Yeah, I think that's great. If you got a family member or a friend to drop balls in on the crossbar from 30 meters out, and if you got 20 or 30 of those, you'd get fairly familiar with your feet and with your mind and how you're going to deal with crossbar balls or high balls coming in. So, what do you think about that, Paddy?
Yeah, look at you mentioned it there, practice, I suppose. Look, to get to the very top, Philly, to get to the very top where the girls are now, you're going to have to be able to catch the high ball. Now, I don't expect it to happen at 10 and 12 and 14 years of age, but as you go along, every opportunity you have to catch balls, even if, you're in the field there and the free taker was practicing their frees, the goalkeeper might volunteer to say, look, I'll follow those for you. And what she's doing behind the goal is catching those high balls coming down. Every opportunity you get, you say in the front lawn at home, or even you go to the ball wall, you can actually hit the ball and bring it back high to yourself. So it's all about practice. The 10,000 hour rule is the thing that Tommy Dunn used to have. Practice, and someday it's going to happen for you, and the penny will drop. And it's about building confidence. And the more you catch, the more confident you'll become. It's the key to good goalkeeping for me. But it takes time, and you mightn't be great at it now, but you can become good at it over the years if you work on it.
Thanks, all our contributors. Lots of advice on the high ball. We'll move on to the next one, Dinny.
Yeah. So the goalkeeper's starting position. Say, for instance, a ball drops over the full forward, full back. Is the anticipation and starting position a confidence thing or an experience thing? I just find, especially in camogie, goalkeepers are rooted to the line. Also, communication a huge factor in the goals, sometimes overlooked. So I suppose just I'll continue on and give my thoughts there with that one. And like the goalkeeper's starting position. I suppose one of the things from an early age is helping the goalkeeper to know their goals. The height of the goals, getting the hurley up over the head, knowing where the crossbar is, knowing where your posts are. So you're scanning left, scanning right. You're knowing where your goals are. That ball that's going to drop in over the full back and full forward. It's an experience thing, and it's practice. It's bringing people down in front of you and getting that extra work done. It's more and more games where that ball is going to drop. Because Paddy had videos there earlier on where that ball could hit anything. Like I remember playing a league final over in, I think it was in Templemore. It could have been 4 or 5 years ago, and there was a ball dropping down on the edge of the square, and I was behind the flight of the ball. I had anticipated everything. Next thing, the ball dropped down and hit the full forward's helmet. It hit him straight on top of the head and just flew straight past me. Like there's some things that you just can't deal with, but you can try and get yourself in the right position or the best position to try to deal with them. Like you're in a position where you're behind the flight of the ball, and if right is right, and maybe if your full back has done the right job and spoiled the full forward, then that ball will break into your path. And if the ball drops just 2 yards behind the full back or the full forward, then that's where your communication comes in, and you're anticipating, you're straight off your line. To be honest, my starting position wouldn't be the line anyway. I don't stand on my line. I have a tendency to move out. If the ball is down the field, I'm out and I'm communicating with my backs. So it's a practice thing with that as well. And I noticed it with an awful lot of teams. I noticed it with the girls inside, with the senior, as things are. Now, luckily, we have two here, Áine and Caoimhe, who are good to talk. They're well able to talk, and they might give some feedback on that there in a few minutes there. But just I do notice that communication can be a very difficult thing to build with teams. And I suppose at times it's about putting the onus back on the players. You know, getting them to take initiative at times, getting them to, even if it's parts of the stretching or different things, just getting them to communicate different things. And it's about making a habit. An awful lot of things you do are habits, and it's about creating good habits. Good habits come from more and more practice and trying to get confidence into the player, that they're not worried. Like sometimes it's a worry about what other people are thinking, and you have to try and get that out of them by one player in your field might not talk necessarily well, or might not like talking, but if they talk at a stage and they've said something beneficial, then their encouragement, that's their success. Like, so their encouragement from the sideline it's a praise from the sideline to, well done, that was good talk, and it makes them feel better about what they've just done, and it'll help them to maybe go on with that a little bit more.
Okay, thanks, Dinny. We move on. Is there any more questions, or can we take maybe two questions together? We're just running out of time there now.
Yeah, well, we have a few questions there together, and it's all in relation to the question on management choosing the goalie at underage. Underage teams, they're very reluctant. The players are very reluctant to make goalie positions their own, and encouraging younger players to become a goalkeeper. You know, nobody wants to go on goal. The best way to iron out or solve it, would you choose 2 or 3 instead of 1? At an under 14 group, maybe, or under 10s, should it be trained on all nights or things like that? So it's just basically revolving around the choosing of a goalkeeper and increasing and just getting them to want to play in the position, I suppose.
Just from my point of view, I go back to Paddy's point about not enough positives said to goalies there during a match. If you come back after a match or after training session to the goalkeeper that, oh, your position was excellent tonight, you made 3 great catches or whatever, it does build the confidence to make that girl want to play a goal the following night at trains as well. That's one of the positives, the number of positives. And secondly, that we don't go a whole training session without the goalkeeper getting any drills. It has happened where the goalkeeper's waiting in the goal as part of a big match and gets a couple of touches, and that day is gone. I think there has to be some specific goalkeeper training. Any thoughts on that, Paddy, about finding your club goalie at 12s or 14s?
Oh yeah, I'd agree with Paddy. Look, I just quickly, I remember I let in 5 goals in a championship match against Upperchurch one day. It's many years ago, and I felt down in the dumps. I was really, we had won, but I felt terrible. I remember Lord Mercer and Paddy Dial was over the team. By 6 o'clock that evening, I felt I was good enough for the Tip seniors after he spoke to me. He was so positive about everything, and I had forgot about it before that night was out, and I moved on. And something I learned about life, about every player, everybody has something to offer. You know, everybody has something to offer. And if a goalkeeper has a bad day, it's important to encourage him and to pinpoint the things they've done well. Yeah, I look at if it's difficulty getting a goalkeeper at underage, you know, maybe at training, everybody spend a section of time, maybe a short time in the goal, rotate around the whole time, that everybody gets a turn in the goal, and maybe someone will jump out or someone will get to like the position. And you know, I mentioned earlier on all the pucks a goalkeeper is going to get, and of course then if you give the goalkeeper special treatment as well by having a goalkeeping coach and taking them for separate sessions and all that kind of thing, and making a project out of that. You know, mentors are so caught up in winning, they oftentimes forget about the goalkeepers. And for years there, you know, we were all forgotten about. But I think there's a great emphasis now on and it being a special position, and it needs attention. So look, we should encourage people. It's a great position. And there's not too many for it. You might be always guaranteed the game as well, and you more likely get the full hour as well, which is good, you know, and maybe to give that player then, not to turn him off altogether. I mentioned the young fella that didn't hurl because he was in the goal. Maybe to give him an out spell out the field and maybe show him that he was not good enough out the field, and then he might be, or she might be willing to go back into the goal again. So it's all about encouragement, and that works, you know. And you know, and be hard on the players too that give out to their goalkeeper. You often see it underage there, maybe, or even at adult level, where the team are giving out to the goalkeeper, you know, and it can be very lonely from that point of view. That, you know, encouragement is the name of the game. And, you know, please God, we'll find another Caoimhe, Bourke, or Áine, Slattery, or Jovita Delaney, whatever, down the road, and hopefully there are plenty of them in the county.
Yeah. Dinny, is there any more important questions, or can I hand over to Áine for the wrap-up?
There's one last question, that's all that's left on it, so we'll finish it off with that one. How do you help goalkeepers increase the distance on their puckouts?
I can't answer this one, lads. Paddy.
I'll tell you, Dinny,
or Áine, or Caoimhe.
It's a great question, Dinny, because Philly and myself, when we were hurling, we spent hours we go to the outside field in Sarsfields and Keegan Park. I remember Philly a few times. Philly was on the county seniors. He's trying to lengthen his puck out. And I was looking at it, I was able to puck the ball some distance. It mightn't be as accurate as Philly was with the puck outs, but I remember Philly Bourke of Upper Church making a hurley for him. He made it out of bog ash, and I had it for 22 years. So I always put it down to the bog ash. But it's about practice. And if you watch if you ever look back on Davy Fitzgerald pucking out the ball, you know, he was a small man, but the distance he got, if you just ever look up a video and the yards he took and how he struck it, he used everything in his power to get everything, and he followed through in it. And, you know, and finally, I just say on that quickly, it's the hurley as well. A lot of goalkeepers change the hurley for that, you know, it's a particular hurley they have, and they mind it for that job as well. So, yeah, sometimes you're called for a long puck out, and make sure the hurley is right, and just have a look at Davy Fitz, and there's others as well, but Davy Fitz's videos on the long puck out can be a help.
So 3 messages there: a good hurley, practice so you get the sweet spot, and also follow through and watch Davy Fitz's videos to learn how to follow through. So 3 great messages there on improving your puck out. So I go over to Áine now. We've been a long time going through all those questions and videos. So thanks everyone, and over to Áine.
Thanks very much, Philly. I'd like to thank our 5 goalkeepers tonight for sharing their expertise and their experience. I hope you all found it really beneficial. We did record the session, and it will be available on our Tipperary Camogie TV YouTube channel, as well as the last 3 webinars will now be up there as and from this evening, and this one will be added sometime during the week. And I'd also like to bring to your attention that we have our podcasts are up on the Tipperary Camogie TV YouTube channel, and the latest edition with Ger Canan is the one on cruciate ligaments, which is very interesting, ACL injuries, which is quite prominent in girls from all the studies done. So I keep an eye on our YouTube channel, and all these will be up there for you to look at a later date and when you go back to the field. So I'd like to thank you all for joining, and once again, thanks to all our panellists for your expertise tonight, and we'll leave it there. Thanks a million.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.